Week 25, day 1. The last third of the lessons. I hope you've stuck with us this long. The quality we're going to talk about this week is organized, but I want to hit on something. And a lot of time, my responses are really from people that call me or talk to me and say whatever it is, and I try to respond to it. That's why it is so good to have this in a classroom, and you're dealing with responses from the students, or if you've got an accountability partner, you share it. That's at 80 to 100%. I would ask, what's your goal with this curriculum? What do you really want? And so I really thought about it for a long time. And Jackie Robinson, one of those 300 greatest leaders that we're talking about that had these qualities. The quote that I remember Jackie Robinson made that to me is so meaningful is Jackie Robinson said, if you live your life and you never make a positive impact on anyone else, you have wasted your life. Now that's scary, isn't it? If you spend your life and you're through, you're at that 70-year mark, you're sitting right where I am, and you're on a hospital bed and you know that time's coming, and you have to sit there and say, I don't think I've positively impacted a single human being. Whoa. Would that be a horrible thing to have to say? I mean, we all think about judgment and we think about all the bad things we've done and all that, but what about not being a positive impact on a single person? So going back to when the person asked me, what's your goal? You see, what I really want to do is you 16, 17, 18, 33-year-old, I want each one of you to be a positive role model. I want you to exemplify this week organized. I want people to look at you and say, that is the most organized person I've ever seen. Because the problem, as the young person told me several weeks ago, is that there aren't enough role models. Nobody's willing to accept responsibility. It's not my fault. It's the Democrats, the Republicans, it's the coach, it's the teachers, it's the parents, it's somebody else's fault. They don't accept responsibility. Well, what about you? Are you a role model for responsibility? Do you step up and accept responsibility? Well, the goal, my goal, purpose-driven, number one, my number one purpose in doing this curriculum is to make each one of you a positive role model for each one of these qualities. When they look at you, do they see selfless? Do they see somebody that has self-respect? Do they see friendly? You remember friendly, and we talked about Thomas Jefferson and the old man wanting to ride, and he looked into the eyes. Well, let me ask you this. If they looked into your eyes, would they ask for a ride? That's what being a role model is. Now, organized, look at organized. And I want you to go all the way to the bottom. Question number 2. Ben Franklin said that for every minute spent organizing, you try that again, every minute spent organizing. In other words, for every minute that you spend organizing, an hour is earned. What do you think he meant by that? Well, if you spend the time, and I had the great opportunity to go and watch a coach teach football, and I sat in the meeting room with him, and when they came in the door, they each had an assigned seat where they sat, and they all sat in a semicircle. Every one of his players, he coached defensive backs, and they all had assigned seats. And they all came in and they all sat down right in their assigned seat in that semicircle. And he was the first one that ever taught me, don't ever put a distraction between you and your player. When you're having a meeting, make sure that there's nobody in front of anybody. Put them in a semicircle or in a circle, if there are that many of them. And then he went through and he explained exactly what they were going to do that day. I mean, for the next 2 hours, every single minute, what they were going to do and why they were going to do it and how they were going to do it. And I said, boy, you spent a lot of time. He said, Coach, if I don't organize my practice, every wasted minute gets me beat. He said, the one thing that I have the exact same amount of that everybody else does is time. So how do I spend it? Well, when you watch your coach, how organized is he? I went to a football game several years ago, and I was the athletic director at one of the schools. And they had to go for 2 points to win the football game. They got a delay of game penalty. So now instead of going for 2 from the 3-yard line, they're going for 2 from the 8-yard line. You know, and that to me is a total, complete lack of organization. What do you do in practice? You know, one of the things that we tried to always tell our players were we're going to practice the game. Well, if you're going to practice the game, aren't you going to say, okay, if we have to go for 2 points, we got to go for 2 to win the game or tie the game. Here's the play that we're going to run. And then you work on it for 15 minutes. And then when it comes time to run that play and they go, we got to go for 2, they don't even look to the sideline. They know exactly what they've got to do. Because that is such an important thing. And that gets back to being organized. Today, you're going to write 3 goals. What really is that? That's getting organized. Write down 3 things you're going to accomplish today. Write down 3 things you're going to get done today. That's going to organize you to a degree. Don't forget exactly what Franklin said. Every minute you spend organizing earns you an hour. Amazing? I think so. We're on page 137, developingcharacter.org. Make it an organized day.